I'm Rod Duff, your host.
And I'm producer Barbie.
And together,
we bring you our podcast,
Insights in Straight Talk. And with that, producer Barbie and I are out. I was just talking to Sean backstage, the green room. I'm going to have to lose that. I actually have to get a green room maybe someday. Who knows? So hi, hey, how's everybody going? We got somebody just jumped on. Appreciate that. Got a really cool show. But what I was saying is Sean Boyle, we'll be getting into his story here in a second. It's another in the things that are a playlist of ours, a series, so to speak, about AI and the ever evolving world that hasn't even really started yet. This dude here came a year out of college and created this dynamic system. And anybody who's either looked at a house or sells homes, especially, you're going to know exactly what we're talking about in virtual tours. So I can't wait to get into that. But what was I going to say? Forgot what I was going to say. I have no idea what I was going to say. That happens every now and then, and it's just part of the pleasure of being here because I don't have to always remember the things that we're doing. But here we are now, and Sean, I'm going to bring him on here in a second, and really looking forward to this because here's a guy fresh out of college. Within a year, he builds this business. Really want to hear that story. But you know how we like to kind of dig into some of the background and how you got to that place, which then put you on the path that you are now. Hey, welcome in. Good to see you guys. And he told me a story that he wants to open up with. I'm not going to steal his thunder here, Sean. You got it. You got it. And by the way, I have a feeling this guy's a lot more sarcastic than I am. So I might actually behave today. I don't know, Sean. Okay, I see you there. I got a big smile. All right, so with all of that said, I'm going to put us on the little screen, and I'm going to say, Sean, how you be, brother?
What's going on, Rod? Thanks for having me on, brother.
I am really excited about this show. Like we were talking about, you've seen several of the episodes, so yeah, you know kind of where the flavor of a little bit later today. Interesting. That's kind of an interesting tie. Our 12 o'clock discussion is with somebody who is a very popular but also famous interior designer, and she's teaching how to design homes to create that energy and space. Done a lot of Oprah Winfrey shows and stuff like that. So we're not only doing AI, however, I think from the beginning it's probably 2060. Now over the last 10 shows, it's probably 9 out of 10, and it's it's here, right? I mean, what we're discussing now and what your journey is and your age, your entire generation, dude's 28 years old, and God bless him. Tell us your story, Sean. We got some people flooding in now that you're getting ready to talk.
Oh, man, thank you. Yeah, I might have to grab her number, honestly. I need a new graphic designer. I'm colorblind, Rod, so I can't tell my greens from my reds sometimes. So that's another conversation for another day.
Oh, that's a bummer. You're colorblind. You know, they have glasses for that now.
I know. I got a pair over there. They cost me like $500, but at least I can see the right colors. I can see green and red on the traffic signs. I don't get any crashes anymore. No,
well, then you can't see our beautiful design going on behind you and the amazing colorful graphics. Man, I'm disappointed. We'll work our way through it, Sean. I think we can pull this off still.
I think we'll be all right. But no, man, it's been a crazy ride. Like for me, I'm still a young kid, as you know. Really, the story
I told you I'm going to call you kid every now and then because you deserve it.
Please do. I mean, I'll definitely take it, the youth for sure. It's one of those things, man. Like, long story short, and we can get into this for sure. My dad went to prison after I graduated high school, and I was really
after high school, right in that prime time.
It was crazy, man.
Dude,
I'll tell you a
sorry.
story. So we were gonna have like a graduation party about, June, July, whatever, around my birthday. And I got a call from my father. And my dad's, I thought it was gonna be, oh, we're gonna take you to the Bahamas, we're gonna go to the Florida, because we always used to take trips, whatever. But it was a very somber call. It was very like kind of pessimistic, ominous call. He's like, hey man, just checking in here. My parents are divorced. I got him on the weekends and other days, whatever. And he said, listen, man, I don't want to mix words here. I'm being indicted by the federal government. I'm most likely going to go to prison, and I'm going to be away for who knows long. But I just wanted to say that. I'll talk to you later. Beep. And that was it. That little blip. And
that was it.
That was it. That was it. He had to talk to his attorney, whatever. He was, over the moon with how everything was going. He was so just stressed out. So I'm over here. I'm 20 years old. I'm trying to process it. I'm like, well, what the heck did my father just tell me? He's going away. Like all these emotions. So we had the party. It was a nice party. I got absolutely ossified, as you can imagine. That was kind of like a send off. So everyone from my family was there. My dad's families, my mom's, like everyone kind of knew the reality of the situation. Honestly, Rod, they were like, hey, this guy's going away. This is like probably the last time we're going to see him, because the indictment had come down and the trial was going to actually start in like a couple of weeks. So kind of a nice little send off. And it the whole marketing thing kind of came out of necessity of really just figuring out what I wanted to do, and also what I am just naturally good at and can see myself doing.
Sure.
So went to Penn State, didn't have the grades to get into main campus right off the get-go. So I went to this place called Penn State Altoona, which is used to be a carnival, actually, Rod, back in the day, as you can imagine.
It's around the corner, isn't it? Like a straight down off of Penn State's huge, but one of my sons was, plays baseball, had an opportunity to go there. Anyway, I know that area. It's gorgeous over the valley.
It's amazing. It's a hiker's paradise. It really is. You get a chance to put on the shoes and walk, and it's beautiful. So went to Penn State Altoona for my first 2 years, and I was going to do this degree. It was called electromechanical engineering technology, big fancy thing, right?
Yeah.
But it means I needed to stay in Altoona for all 4 years. So I was like, you know what? I want to get up to Maine. Like, I don't want to do the engineering thing. And listen, nothing against engineers. Like my stepbrother, I'm going to go visit him and his soon-to-be wife in Denver. They have a bachelor party next weekend. He's an engineer. He works at this, company after Aerojet Rocketdyne, whenever he makes missiles for the government. Maybe I shouldn't say that, whatever, but it is what it is. And then his soon-to-be wife works at NASA, if you can believe that.
Oh, wow.
Genius.
Talk about rocket scientists.
Unbelievable.
Right? Yeah.
Nothing against them. But it's one of those things, man, where I'm like, I can't really resonate with these people. Like, I'm very extroverted. I'm kind of bubbly, personality. So I was like, I don't know if I can do all this stuff. So that's where I really pivoted towards marketing. And then ultimately, COVID happened, and we can get into that. But it was, the perfect storm meets an opportunity. That's really what ended up happening. So we can take this thing anywhere you want, man, but it's a crazy thing. I needed to make money out of necessity for the family. My brother very graciously actually gave his portion of his college fund so I could go to school, as selfless as that is. Big shout out to Ryan, my brother. And it's been beautiful, man. I mean, the whole story is just, it's crazy. It was unbelievable.
Now you when you say a year out of college, and we'll talk about that in a second, we also got already a few questions going on here. We'll jump. Can you see the when it comes across, when I put it on the screen? Do you want me to read them to you, or do you just want to kind of, as I pop them up, build them into your conversation?
Yeah, that sounds good to me.
Whatever. All right, let's do that. Different people like different things, so we didn't actually. We talked about all the other fun stuff instead of actual details. Mm-hmm. So you talked about a year out of college. You created this 7-figure IT orient, actually ahead of its time, and we alluded to that. When you said out of college, so you're an entrepreneur of mine. Believe me, I have a machinery business and I have engineers. Yeah, I get what you're saying. And I'm more of a marketing person as well, more of a talker, more of a you. That's more of an entrepreneurial thing. That's what you would consider yourself, I'm assuming. How many years in college did you go? I mean, because I started and said, fuck this. And is that your gig, or what? Tell us a little bit about that. You got 100 people on here already.
The first week of college, I was like, F this. Then I found my fraternity and beer and chicks. And I was like, all right, this is pretty good. I can hang on here for a little bit.
We can do this. Yeah, we can do this.
Yeah, I can hang on for this. So went to Penn State Altoona for 2 years, and then I went up to Maine for 2 years, and that's where I finished off. I think I got what did I finish with, Rod? I finished with a Bachelor of Arts in Advertising, and I did a Spanish minor for like a couple months. I don't say I'm fluent, but I'm like 80% there. So that's kind of how I would pick up some of my old girlfriends, so to speak.
That's pretty cool. I did a business with a minor in theater.
Okay.
So you can tell how my mind works. And spent the first 3/4 of my life in the business side is safer. And then came over to here, and now I'm going through my theater world now. So,
dude, in another life, I would be an
making good
actor.
choices.
I've always loved the theatrics and just like playing a character. I still think sometimes I play a character. I don't know who the real Sean Boyle is. Maybe in another life.
You know what? No. It's interesting. Go back and look at a couple of shows. We do stuff on mental health too. And for me, I'm not harassing you here on this one, but you said that I used to be a model and an actor through college and all that. And I did the theater and all that, loved it, but I didn't have enough self-confidence in me because you're judged. I mean, it's you that is being judged day in and day out. And I wasn't ready for that. So I said, all right, what do I do? And then got married, and it's like, I gotta be safe and make money instead of trying to battle my demons there. But when you said in another life, I grew up with a mask over my face because I didn't have that confidence that a Philly boy like you just naturally exudes. That's your style. That's your city. That's your state. You guys are on it. And so when you start going down that path, how does that look for you now? What's going on, and how did you scale your virtual tour business? So see, and that's where I got thrown off. I was thinking of tour guide, which is actually something to go. But yeah, how did you scale that? Yeah.
So what I did was, and I'll kind of catch up the story. So I graduated college, and I was with my business partner, Mac, who he actually used to work at Google. And there's this camera, it looks like an Xbox looking thing on our office. And I'm like, hey man, what is this thing? And he's like, oh, it's a 360 camera. Like, I bought it. It's kind of cool. And I'm like, well, are we doing anything with this? Like, do we have like another, opportunity here? And he's like, well,
what were you doing at the time? What were you doing at the time? Your business partner, you said, had this Google thing. What was that at that time?
That was just a basic marketing company. We were doing ads, website, SEO, the typical, digital marketing stuff. I was in Philly. I was pretty much like a sales intern at that point. And then I ultimately worked my way up to partner, which we can go down, that journey. But really, it came out of necessity, man. The whole virtual tour thing, I was like, all right, well, if we're utilizing this, we need to move on it immediately, because when I graduated college was 2020. It was when COVID was, coming up. So it was that's what I say. It was a perfect storm meets an opportunity. There was so much demand, and we knew SEO. So what I did literally when I graduated was I would here's my whole game plan. Here's how I literally scaled the company. I made 50 different Google business profiles across the entire United States. And then to verify the profile, because you need to have like an actual address, I would call a contractor who is in, Denver, Colorado, right? Hey, John Smith, Sean Boyle here, Momentum 360. Do you mind if I use your address in building this company? We can essentially use you for these, jobs, this, that, and the third. They're like, oh yeah, we'll take free money, whatever. Because at that point, virtual tours weren't really a thing. They were kind of like an afterthought almost, right? They're like, oh, whatever. Like it's not going to catch on. It's kind of like the 90s and websites.
I remember that.
Right? So
yeah, I remember
it was something very new. And everyone said yes. So I was like, all right, great. So we have all these Google profiles. So when people would Google, like virtual tours near me, 360 tours near me, we would come up number one. There was no competition. There was a couple people who were doing it, but not on a nationwide scale like we did. So
that was brilliant. That's the SEO. Oh my God. Yeah. I'm going back to messages. Go on.
Yeah, no, you're fine. So it's one of those things where we actually scaled a lot quicker than I initially thought because there was just so much demand. And I would have those contractors go out and shoot. They would do the work under Momentum 360. Before we know it, we're pumping social media ads. We're doing Google ads. We're doing, podcasts like this. Like I was so busy and I kind of almost scaled too fast because I had a lot of, cash. We were trying to spend it, wisely and stuff and grow the company, which we ultimately did. But that's really how we were able to scale it. I know Adam Wayne had a great, question. That's how I was able to scale so quickly. There was so much demand and we took action immediately. We really took action immediately, made those Google business profiles. We had the calls coming in. We had the SEO. That was the biggest thing. That was the biggest benchmark we had. We were ranking high on Google. People were calling us, and then we essentially just, blew it from there.
That wasn't the biggest benchmark. That was a freaking grand slam home run. I mean, you were in front of, like you said, you always did that stuff, and there's a billion of them out there now. Tech, nothing against that industry, but it's a dime a dozen now.
Yeah.
So it wasn't when you were there, and then you got this entrepreneur. Hey, let's do it. I don't even know how you would do that. Was that something that was easy to do at that time, or done before within the SEO world, or was that your coming up with that? Just curious.
Yeah, I don't want to take all the credit for it because Mac pretty much already had something kind of going. I just picked up the football and ran with it. You know what I mean? But as they say, it's the execution that matters. It's not necessarily the idea because ideas are, a dime a dozen. It's really what you make out of that idea that's ultimately, pays
that's what I mean.
The company. So yeah, I mean, it was one of those things, man. Once I kind of conceptualized, hey, we have these virtual tours. We can do it on a nationwide scale. We can do it for real estate, hospitality. We can do it for travel. We can do it for vacation homes and rentals like you were talking about. There's all these really cool niches that we had. And before we know it, we're all right, we're traveling over here. We're traveling over there. We're making contacts across the nation. And it's been unbelievable, man. I mean, the not just the business side of things, but the fact that I'm able to have all these connections pretty much internationally at this point and have friends and people that I can check in and we can actually go and, meet and have dinner and have a cool weekend together and spend time with each other is invaluable. And I'll always look back at that as probably the pinnacle of my entrepreneurial, sense, so to speak, or at least for now. So, yeah.
Yeah. Well, and you're hitting on that same thing, which is one of my drives personally in this podcast, because you can do it from anywhere. It's the old, I think, I shouldn't really say this, but the COVID, I think, set us up to be kind of more, it was horrible. It was terrible. It was politicals, everything that it was. But thinking out of the aftermath of that, first of all, a lot of people in your generation just stopped working and then didn't have to work. So you're way ahead. I mean, you give me and my whole generation confidence because we're going to rely on you guys to keep the economy going, bro.
Wow.
Because at some point, you're the next generation. My granddaughter, I have a 16-year-old granddaughter, and I have my oldest boy just had his first granddaughter. And so, but my point being, I'm landlocked in the machinery business, so it's being wound down, and this is the moving forward. And guess what? I can do it wherever I want. I can get back with, I could sit down with the kids. As a matter of fact, my son runs a podcast, Be Money. I'm not going to steal any more of that wording. Yeah. So we kind of have, he's been on here a few different times. He does a lot of, that's interesting. We'll talk later. He does a lot of multi-stream income stuff. That's kind of a thing with you guys. He has a thing on Discord. Then I'm opening a class on what we talked about on school. Anyway, that's all I got, man. I'm done.
It's one of those things. I think, listen, what would you classify me as? I was born in '97. Does that make me a millennial or a Gen Z? Or
I have no idea. You guys always, and you know what's funny about that? It's always flipping around between you guys in that generational thing. And there's this weird kind of competition between you folks, and it's on social media. I sit back and you guys are fucking hilarious, man. I'm gonna say I have no idea, but yes, you're in that area. Absolutely, you're in the area that guys. folks my age, the middle class, is very concerned about, because now I'm a baby boomer. We came out of the 60s, free love and, all that. So being young, I get it, and you're there, and hopefully everything changes. But there's a lot of concern that with the COVID, and then after that, just send money to you to stay at home and not work. And then it was work, but you don't have to come into the office, and and that's being fought against now. So that's what this old man is looking at, going, I want more of you, man. Sean, tell us, there's a whole bunch of you guys out there. Maybe not as rocked as you are, but we'll get on to Ali's question here in a second. Is the generation going to save us?
Man,
are you guys going to get your shit together?
I'll just be Atlas and put the world on my back real quick. But no. You're very kind. What I was going to say is, I boil it down to this, right? And I don't have all the answers. Like, I'm still a kid, as you know. Like, I'm trying to figure it out. You know what I mean? I think my brain's developed now. I'm 25, 26, but whatever. It's never been easier.
You can get insurance now. You can get car insurance at 25 as a male.
Yeah. I feel like this. It's never been easier to sit on your butt, on your keister, and collect a check. And it's also never been easier to go out there and make something of yourself. And I really firmly believe that. I think it's all like, we have the tools, we have the technology. If you have the drive, if you have the will, and if you want to, like, metaphorically, like, run these guys over, like, if you want to grind and make something of yourself, it's so much easier than when what it was in the 80s and 90s and 2000s. And it's like, I don't know, people like me, I kind of just innately had this kind of born into me. Yeah. It was always like, my father was an entrepreneur. He did some stuff that probably wasn't the best, but he obviously learned from it. And then my mom was always rock solid with her morals. And like, I'm a very religious person. I'm a Christian. And for me, that's the biggest pillar of my life. It really is. Like, I know my personality is kind of like, flair and pizzazz and like bubbly stuff, but at the core of it is Jesus. At the core of it is Christianity. And that keeps me going day in and day out. And I feel like the young generation, like myself, if we have those pillars of values with family, with religion, that's going to continue to inspire this generation and keep our country running. That's what I firmly believe.
How old are you?
I'll be 28 in July.
I knew that. I was just, wow, that was good. You're absolutely right, because that's what's not happening right now. There's so much division and chaos, and I mean, we have different religious leaders on this show all the time, because everything you're saying is so critical. It really is. That's how you build a life, what you're talking about. Yeah. What sparked the idea for Momentum 360? And I'm like 20 questions behind now, so I might throw a couple at you. You turned somebody on here.
Yeah, we can go through this for sure. That's no problem. I mean, for me, it's really I found this Xbox looking thing in our office, and I said, hey, the company was already named Momentum. I was like, all right, we're going to do 360 tours. Momentum 360. It's really that simple. Awesome. And then from there, it was kind of like, all right, let's start to pivot and target more, because we really just did real estate, Rod, more for anything, like residential real estate. But it's like, all right, we're charging like $300.
You're selling to realtors, right? You're selling to realtors. We have a lot of. It's funny. I don't know why, but yesterday we had, I don't know, 30, 40 questions. I do a morning coffee thing. We had like 30 realtors asking questions about the AT stuff. So the market's, I think, just getting more, because they're getting more comfortable. Like you said, I remember when it came out, it was like, okay. And I played with it a couple of times, 10, 15, whatever it was. And it was like, okay, cool. And I thought that would never, but man, it's ingenious. I mean, it's the best marketing that real estate has probably ever had. I mean, it's always been billboards and, sales calls and all that, which is awesome. But now you get to really show the product. How does that work?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
No, that was a great question. I mean, really how it works is we post it to Zillow, we post it on Airbnb, all this stuff. And someone who's in, like Italy, who's looking to maybe migrate to New York City, right? A lot of people from overseas, go and live in New York. What they do is they can simply go, oh, here's 123 Pine Street in Manhattan. Great. $5K a month in rent, because, they're kind of banging you on rent, right? So you go through the virtual tour, you can click out, oh, here's the kitchen. Here's how large the area is. Here, how large my bedroom is. So you have all these kind of parameters of it's just very open and transparent, which is great. So you don't need to actually necessarily go and, buy $1,000 plane ticket to go to New York to just check it out. You know what I mean? There's so many transactions that were done online without even going physically to the property, which blows my mind.
It blows your mind. I'm gonna leave the questions alone, because I got a couple of questions on what you're talking about, and hopefully, like what happened before, people may re-ask some questions, and we'll dive back into it. But also in how it works. So you just said you posted on Zillow. So obviously those your team, somebody you are there create. It's a visual. I mean, you got to have a camera. Like you said, 360. How is that working? Because I see them all the time now in advertisement. Every realtor is using that now. Maybe not every, but how does it physically work? Are you selling that as a package at times, or what's happening there?
Yeah, the bread and butter is real simple. Like, there's a lot of 360 cameras out there, but one of the best 360 cameras is this, your iPhone. So what you can do is, exactly right. You go and take the 360, and then boom, you can essentially just take it, put it to Zillow, make color correct it, make it look all pretty, whatever, and then put it right on there, and then you're good. That's all you got to do. It's super simple.
Because you're editing it in the background, right? Like I do. I do social media stuff, and I use ClipCut, or one of the 2 billion other ones out there. And that's what you're doing, right? You're kind of refining it, because the tools to do that, and the phones. I don't even know where I put my phone. The phones are fantastic. The cameras and video in that is as good as anything in this studio, for sure. And beyond, right? I mean, it's amazing.
We can put in anything you want. Like, for me at least, like what I like to do, and it was funny, like we actually virtually stage things in there. So I was like, oh, let's put a couple hot models in there. Like, let's get to sell it out, and kind of make some buzz around it. So, but
wow, cool.
People eat that stuff up. I know I'm joking when I say that, but there was this one. It's funny. There's this one realtor in Austin, Texas, real heavy Southern accent. He's like, man, you can do that. Like, we'd sell 1 million properties a year if we could do that. And he actually wanted to. We did it for one property, and it worked. I was like, I don't know if it's going to work, seriously, but it worked. That makes sense. But
so you're actually able to stitch in that case, a model or a cup of fruit, or if it's an empty living room, throw a chair down, or a table down. But that actually gets stitched in, looks good. Some of the stuff I've seen probably wasn't even there. Not the house is. That's not the point. But you're staging. You know what staging is. You're in real estate. You go out and you stage the house before the open house occurs, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's wild. So the virtual staging, we can put in anything. We can put in a plant, which this is pretty much dead, so not a good example, but could put in a plant, could put in.
I didn't see the plant.
Table. Yeah, all that stuff, man. It's crazy. You can put in literally anything you want.
Because having an empty living room is a misimpression of the size of it, right? I mean, it makes it look smaller. So staging makes perfect sense. What marketing strategy worked best for? Was it the girl that you stuck with, that marketing strategy? What's your best marketing strategy? By the way, she's a realtor. I know her. She's a realtor.
Without that model, I can't take all the credit. I mean, she, I'm kidding. She definitely helped it. The best thing that I would say is, and it's funny because it's not just for me, but it's also for real estate agents too. It's the same strategy. The Google business profile, it's the easiest thing. Because where are you located? You said you're from California. Where are you at right now?
I grew up in the military, so all over the place, but I live in Chicago currently.
Oh, I love Chicago. Okay, cool. We have a lot to talk about then.
Really? You're from Philly, so yeah, you could potentially love Chicago.
Yeah, I love Chicago. I'll tell you that in a second, but yeah, I love Chicago. If you're in Chicago and you're like, all right, best realtors in Chicago, right? You pop up number one using the Google business profile. So you type it on Google, best, realtors in Chicago, comes up John Smith, Sean Boyle, Rod, whatever. And you get a bunch of reviews, bunch of photos, bunch of posts, whatever. Oh, cool. This guy's actually he looks like he knows what he's doing. So that's essentially the whole process. That's the same thing with what I did with the virtual tours. Made a whole bunch of Google business profiles, started to rank number one, got the calls. And then we just dispersed all the work to all those contractors whose address we were using at the time to go and actually have that physical quote unquote address. Because people all the time, Rob, they'd be like, talking to me, 215 number, oh, you're not in Chicago. You're not in Appleton, Wisconsin. You're not in all these areas.
My cell phone number is area code 714, which is Orange County, California. So it's how it happens, man.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm like, I should have changed my number. I think I'll be all right. But that's really what I ended up doing. And that's pretty much all we needed to do for the first strategy. Yeah.
I mean, that makes a lot of sense. It's a huge, I mean, you talked about it. When you're searching, and now it's, obviously more and more and more and more and more. But even 5-10 years ago, when the first thing you do when you're looking for somebody is you do the Google search. Google was the only, really the best and only and real game in town. And when you're doing that, you already knew that importance of the SEO. So now putting that across the way, was brilliant. I mean, now it's kind of what people are doing, but you took it to another level where you're actually having physical locations that you're pulling back into to build up that SEO more.
Yeah, to Chris Hanna's question, and we can get into this, how did you scale across 10 countries? It was the same thing. It was literally the same thing. So I had a partner in Spain. I had a partner in Portugal, in Italy, in Canada. That's ultimately how we were able to scale.
Like sales reps, like territory sales reps, or literally partners?
Just the contractors, just the people who would actually go and do the work. So if, for instance, perhaps there was a shoot in Lisbon, right, which I think is in Portugal, right? They'd be like, oh, cool. Let's send, I think the guy's name was Manuel or something like that, right? I forget his name. Manny, I called him. Yeah. So Manny would go out there and he would do the shoot and be like, oh, cool. We're here under Momentum 360. Because then it's creating essentially a consistent narrative. I don't want the guy to show up and be like, oh, we're here with Home Tours 360, a completely different company, because then the customer is going to be like, oh, what the heck? I talked to Sean, he's with Momentum. So in our contractor agreement, what we did was make sure that everything's straight lined, everything's has a due process, and that's ultimately what worked. That's one of the other shining lights of the company, is just being consistent with the expectations we set. For instance, if I want to do a virtual tour of your house, it's you want to hear from me. You want to hear a consistent thing, because it creates just better morale. So you're not oh, what the heck? You know what I mean? So it's just for the customer experience. Yeah.
Yeah, 100%. Confidence, especially as you're going in. Well, and this is, I would call the in ticket is a pretty high ticket expense for anybody. It's one of their largest. In some cases, or probably a lot of cases, it's their largest purchase ever. And so building that confidence and that brand identity as being a thing to be confident about is dude, you are a marketing guy. Really, very good. Your company does some really good. So that's how you build. The technology was there, but if the way you did it was different and not so many people knew about it, it'd be a lot slower growth, right? Marketing.
Yeah. And, listen, I was 21, 22 at the time when I first actually legitimately got started with this. So I just said to myself, listen, screw it. F it, let's go nationwide. If we fail, okay, whatever. But let me at least take this shot. I'm young, I'm hungry. Let me take this shot and let me see what we can do. I didn't see any need of just sticking locally where it's all right, cool. We're going to make a couple bucks here and there. That's fine. I want to travel. I want to check out other parts of the world. I want to meet other people in other parts of the country and just build a nationwide business. That was the whole kind of origin and genesis of what we ultimately wanted to do. So in my mind, I never wanted to play safe. I always wanted to just attack and see what we can do. And the other thing is just wanting to make something out of yourself as well. I think there's way too many people who just don't Was I nervous every single day? I'd wake up, oh my God, am I going to make payroll? Am I going to do this, do that? Of course I was. I was terrified. But that stress was never outweighed by the overarching belief and just sheer grit and determination that not just me, but my team exhibited. Because you can always feel anxious. You can always feel depressed or sad or not confident, but just do it anyway. Just do it, and just get out of your own way kind of thing. So, yeah, it was interesting to say the least. I think a lot of people can kind of adopt that mindset nowadays.
Yeah, I took your advice a little later in life, but yeah, that's exactly what you got to do. You got to go after it, and the more joy or the more fulfillment you get out of something, that's a driver. But you need that energy because there's a whole lot of stuff that you just got to go, like you said, payroll. Oh my God, I had 26 employees before I started. I mean, we had every couple of weeks was their best day and my worst day. It was like sweating at times, especially we went through the COVID. Fortunately, not as brilliant of a marketing thing, but we immediately designated ourselves as essential. So we actually were still able to work.
Oh, wow.
A lot less, but we're in manufacturing. So, food need to get made, cars need to get built, we're that, so that saved us. But really, it's like running through mud sometimes. That feeling. You're like going, and it's like, it's really challenging to stay up and stay motivated. Did you face any major, speaking of, by the way, before we go into this, I made Bradley a deal about a month ago. He was on a show and I saw him a couple times in a row. I said, listen, if you show up every day and stay, I'm going to shout you out specifically when I see you on here. So Bradley, shout out. What major failures did you have growing up? Because I'm, and don't give some tiny little thing that makes me all depressed. What kind of failures did you run across?
Oh, I can make you very depressed. It was two sides of it, right? It was on the personal side of things. My dad was still in prison. He got out in 2021, 22, when we were like scaling the business. But in the business itself, the biggest challenge I would say we faced was picking the right people to scale with the company. Hand raised, I did an absolutely terrible, abysmal job at hiring people. I had, and I'm not going to say this person's name. He was with me for years, and I'm not going to, just badmouth him. But I picked a couple individuals who were with me for a long time. I'll just say that, in operations and in sales, and they just didn't cut it. Like, they were okay, but for someone like me who needs to have a consistent person in this specific facet of the business, like sales and fulfillment and marketing and maybe payroll or whatever, stuff like that, right? I need to have someone who I can depend on day in and day out. And it just got to a point where it was just not, those people were just not dependable. So I don't know, people listening to this, and I think people know this all the time, like, you're only going to go as far as the ship is, and the ship can only dictate the direction of the amount of quality people you have on it. It's so true. So for me, that was a huge skill that I needed to learn, and it is a skill. And that was a huge failure. I lost so much money because I ultimately let that person go, let a couple people go, and I lost money, and it was a bad experience. But it was a good experience in retrospect because now I know what to do and what not to do. So thank God for that.
That's one of the hardest things to do. Absolutely. Well, I'm sure different personalities handle that differently, obviously, different aspects of the business. Because at the end of the day, everything falls back on you and your partner. But I know exactly what you're talking about. It's hard to let somebody go, and you don't want to deal with that, and you want it to work its way out. And at the end of the day, you've just lost a whole shitload of money, over time. And
a whole lot of money.
It's a tough thing to buck up and do, and then do it right and do it, all those other things. That for me also is a big challenge. So Bradley, Beautiful job, guy. Thanks. What would you do differently if starting today? Which actually you only started a couple of weeks ago, it seems like. But
I started
let's.
yesterday, actually.
Yeah. So if you closed down yesterday and started back up today, what would you do differently? It's a great question. I'm just messing with you, Chris. Oh, hey, he's a podcaster. Okay. Hey, Chris. So what would you do differently if you were my God, you're only 28. So technically you could be doing this for very easily the very first time.
Yeah, exactly. There's so much stuff I would do, Rod. I mean, I think hand raised, like, I think one of the things I'm good at, one of the best things, not just as a business owner, but as a human being, is emotional intelligence, being able to read the room and, just kind of have empathy and sympathy. But with that being said, when it comes to business, I wish I would have had the ability to have less ego and pride and put that aside and ask for help more. I think I would need
Dude,
to
that's
ask.
testosterone. You'd have to testosterone gets in our way sometimes. I'm going to read some more mess. Go ahead.
Chemically castrate me, whatever you're going to do to lower the T.
All right. I was going to read some messages, but I had to come back on when I heard that one. I was good. Yes. We all young men could have a temporary that thing going on for a while, because we're all toxic,
Yeah, exactly. And listen, it's one of those things, like, confidence is good, but I got to a point where, like, I was having some success. I thought I knew everything. And I was 22 years old. My brain wasn't even fully developed. How can I know anything? No one knows everything. I wish I would have said, all right, hand raised, I need help with X. I need help with this. So Chris, to your point, I think there were so many things. I can't pinpoint a certain one: sales, marketing, just being an entrepreneur, how to scale a business, like all these things I had no idea how to do because it was my first go around. So being able to swallow my pride, swallow my ego. Hey, I need help. And that's one of the things I wish I would have done earlier. So I could have probably scaled a little faster with less headaches and probably you can't see, but a little less gray hairs, I would say.
Oh, dude, really? You had to go there. And it comes really quick. It's funny. You ever notice when the president goes into office, they're at the age that they are. And by the end of at least the first term, do you see how, that's a stressful ass job. That brings on gray like crazy. They done a thing on that. And it's amazing. The more challenging you have in situations, your body is aging pretty quick there. You only got a couple of spots there in the back, you said. So
yeah.
Okay, you're good. Oh, I see a little thingy on the edge there. Okay. So what would you do differently? We already got that. Let's go over to a great question, Chris. Jeff Lamb, any tools you recommend for the client communication?
Yeah. 17 Hats is a CRM platform that's made just for photographers and digital marketers. So 17hats.com, you can make quotes and invoices, but more importantly, like workflows, giving out like bite-sized value nuggets of this is what you can do, 3 best marketing tips of the week, kind of stuff. So you can also email clients, build reports, build analytics. Oh, and another one, Rod, which I actually just found out, shout out to my director, Melissa, is napkin.ai. It's like pretty much you put a bunch of text on there and you can create free graphics, and it really puts it on steroids and makes graphics out of the text. So yeah, I would recommend checking that out. That's
an really AI. Is that a JSON or what's it called again? I don't know that one. That was cool.
Yeah, napkin.ai. You have a napkin for food and stuff. Napkin.ai, totally free, and it's in beta as well, Rod. So and Jeff. So you can get it. It's totally free. I don't have a promo code to give you out. I'm not an affiliate, but I do use it. It's a fantastic tool.
By the way, for those of you who don't know, now when I do things like that, I used to try and Google it or whatever. When they ask for a promo code, go to your Chat GPT, put in that company, and open. You know what I mean? Open what codes, and you find them all over the place. So just a little side point there. But go back to that what you were just talking about on the. That's an AI module. Am I correct about that? What you just said you use? Because I use I use an automation module for my social media. So when this show drops, it'll go into a Google file. The metadata will be pulled out, and then go down and eventually end up on social media. A little bit different for LinkedIn folks versus TikTok folks, and how it's presented, but also it does an image. How does what you're talking about right now, the one I'm using, the image is beautiful, but there's wording in there. Does it catch that wording well? Mine doesn't.
Before, like, it is hit and miss, but there's other ones, like as the technology increases, it's going to get better over time. There's what is it called? Autopilot. That's a good one where it takes notes, and it's actually like it condenses the words you use, and it actually enhances the words you use, like make you sound more smart, which I can take every little bit that I can on that. And then 100%. You essentially can send it to your clients, and you're like, oh, wow, this is really consolidated, clean, looks nice. So Autopilot is it's a free Google Chrome extension as well. So that's something to check out as well.
Isn't that kind of crazy about the technology today? I remember I'd use Salesforce, and we had Pardot, and it was automation of its time. This is, I don't know, 2014 is when I started with them, but it was like $900 a month. And Pardot was another like $900 a month, and it cost $14,000 to get trained. Yeah, I know. I see your face. Yeah, no, it was not a good time, but it built the shit out of my company. I mean, it because of exactly what you're saying. Somebody would come in and ask a question. Pardot would see that, send out a already said email with an attachment, and whether they clicked on the attachment or not, it did this email. If they didn't, it did that email, that kind of thing. That's what the world we're in now. But like you said, there's so much free stuff. I mean, literally, and when you send that message, it's like you use so many digital, I forgot what they're called, coins, right? And that costs you like a third of a penny or something like that.
Right.
It's phenomenal. It's phenomenal.
It's unbelievable.
This stuff doesn't, and people do a lot for free. I think your generation and well, from say 40 down, see and actually write code and send it off to these. I use reverence. Yeah. And the different little agents in there have preset code, and then it tells you what it does. Like I'm using one right now that is a make connection corrector. I'm finishing a make connection, but these people out there just sitting there writing code because they get off on it and they love it. Yeah. But they're not charged. But it doesn't cost $14,000 to learn about it. And it's no code stuff now, or low code and no code. That's kick-ass. Now you tell it what to do.
It's unbelievable. I mean, and you can even imagine too, like give it 5 years, give it 10 years, what's going to look like then? You're going to have pretty much AI writing you, websites and social media, like doing it literally for you, the posting and the management. It's interesting. Yeah.
It's already kind of doing, because you tell it what to do, and you're right. It's not doing it for you, but it literally follows you around, and its whole job is to make what you're doing perfect. They're constantly trying to improve your commands, your questions, your instructions. Sorry, all day, every day, it's learning to make better what they do for you, and that's a pretty cool person. How many people do you know that like that?
And it's going to take the person who like utilizes that and makes it their own. And I don't know. I mean,
yes.
There's a whole way of thinking of like, oh, when are the robots going to come? Like all this stuff. But I like to think about things of like, more optimistic and be like, hey, it's going to be a huge tool. We got to have like, make sure it doesn't get too smart, right? We got to make sure we can kind of control it however we can, right? I don't have the answer for that, but it's exciting time.
It is very exciting. I do. Well, first of all, definitely not my lifetime. I know when you referenced robots, taking over the earth and killing the human. Is that what you were kind of describing there?
Yeah, a little bit.
Yes, but let's say that would happen. Are you freaking serious? I mean, we're talking 1,000 years from now, if that even. But you said the key thing. AI is not near as the human brain is. If you took the power out of the human brain and plugged it into a very small city, and that city ran off the power that your brain produces, it would completely, like electricity, lights, that for a week, just one brain.
Oh my gosh.
So no, I mean, that's a statistic that's out there. Some people say for 8 days, but I mean, you're talking about being able to, that's a powerful thing. And AI isn't intelligent. I mean, it says artificial intelligence. It's not smart. What it is, and we have this capability, but we don't use it. And it's a real pain in the ass to even try. But they pull information and scrape digital data. They're just a memory bank that makes everything happen faster and more efficient. So, and by the way, on the robot thing, sorry, I told you we might have to arm wrestle a little bit because your topics are fascinating, but you're too young. And I'm too young in the 50s, but I heard the story. Eisenhower, I think it was, one of the presidents said, and there will be a car in every driveway. Well, now there's 3 or 4, but I guarantee you there's going to be a robot in every home. It's 5-10 years. Now it's not going to turn around one day and go, you are, it's not that. It's going to make everything you do better. And the physical stuff, you don't have to do it. And everything's going to cost a lot less because it's so proficient. Just got myself worked up there, brother. You take it over for a while, Sean. How do you balance quality and scale with virtual tours?
That's a loaded question. I mean, for the quality of it, you got to use the best cameras. I mean, there's a couple cameras that we use. The first one is the iPhone, right? That's one of the ones that I showed earlier in the show. Second one it's called the Ricoh Theta. And the Ricoh Theta, I mean, Ricoh had been around for a long time, great company, whatever.
It is.
And there's a lot of Ricoh Thetas. The Theta is essentially the 360 camera that people use. There's the X, the Z1, and essentially that's how you take the 360s. And the third one is it's a company called Matterport. You can actually buy this stock today. I'm not a financial advisor. I wouldn't recommend doing it because they're a little in the tank right now. But they're on the stock exchange, and there's a camera
What's it
there.
called?
Matterport. Matterport, and the ticker, I believe, is MTTR. I think that's what it is. And there's a camera there, Rod. It's called the Pro 3. You can shoot outside, inside, and it creates those 360 doll houses that you see on the thing. So, and then the scale of it is, and this is the thing that's really interesting too, talking about data. The scale of it is you need a place to host these tours, right? So it's like, all right, well, how do you go and do that? Well, for us, we actually reduce the size of the files every single tour that we do, so we can actually maximize the storage that we have. So yeah, it's one of those things that not a lot of people think about, but the more we can consolidate that data, the more that we can do. So we don't pay an arm and a leg. I mean, I probably pay about maybe not that much. I probably pay about $3,000 a month just on the storage of these virtual tours, which is nuts.
You do it in the cloud? I'm assuming you do it. You have a program that's in the cloud now that like a couple terabytes kind of thing. I'm guessing is what you're.
Yeah. There's a software. Matterport is a software we use, and then CloudPano, CloudPano. CloudPano is another one that we use, and that's another like in the cloud based software. Really cool stuff. Yeah, so that's ultimately what we do.
Yeah, that's you have to do. I had I'm old school, so I had a server with a VPN, virtual private network, right? Well, my server kind of dumped, and luckily my IT guy saved at least the most important stuff. It was old, and then the office that I'm in, they had something go on, and there's a lot of rain out here. You know what I'm saying? And the roof collapsed right on top of my server with the roof tiles right on top of my server, which is tucked away in this little office that isn't used for air conditioning, because they get hot. And everything was gone. My internet, my everything was gone because everything you're working on that. So first thing we did, he grabbed whatever he could, put it, on a drive, an outside drive, and we loaded it up to Google Cloud. And that's what you have to do now. I mean, no doubt about it. So you save every one of the files. When you say all the files, that's and then there's another thing. How does what are those things called? Drones. How does that work in this, or does it? I know it does maybe the outside, but you can't fly a drone inside. I mean, even the little ones, unless you're really freaking good, you don't want to run into a wall or something, right?
Well, the thing that's interesting is for the virtual tours, like the 360 stuff, you can actually take a drone, put it several hundred feet high, take aerial 360s, and include that in the actual 360 tour.
Yes,
so, for instance, there's a couple of universities we work with in California. That's what we do, where we take, there's a lot of luscious land and it's very pretty and aesthetically, like, just it looks cool, right? So we'll take the drone, put it a couple hundred feet high, do that, take the panos, and then put it into the interior and exterior stuff that we did as well. And then the other thing that's cool, on another service, there's a drone where you can actually fly inside. It's called a FPV, first person view drone, where
a little tiny one or something.
Super small. It's actually about the size of my fist. It's not too small, but it's
wow.
pretty dynamic. And you can, if you're flying through a restaurant or a bar, you go through the front door, maybe past the bar, through a couple tables. It's really dynamic. Yeah. So that sounds cool. What you can do. Yeah. And that's ultimately how you offer more value as well. Because it's, who doesn't want to have those cool drone panos if you have a really nice, bunch of land and whatnot. It just looks better.
Not only does it look better, but it's natural for the human experience, the brain, to be attracted to that, to see that a picture is great. Oh, that looks pretty. But if you're flying around, that's a whole nother thing. Now I've been holding this up here for a minute because I took over the show for a minute and I'm giving it back to you. I apologize for that. Danny here's got a great question, because I have a question about that. Are there niches outside real estate, which you've already talked about to a degree, that you're targeting now? My first thought came, you talked about Airbnbs, yachts. I would think, high end, that kind of stuff. Yachts would be a good. I know people who are starting to Airbnb their yachts, so I would think that's at least in the thought. What are some of the other stuff that makes sense?
Well, all you need is a physical space. So we can do literally anything that we want. The one that I love the most to work with, and that's probably the most like cash, an amount for us and like value, is hospitality. What I like to do is, instead of having a contractor go out and, make the virtual tour or whatever, what I do is I say, resort manager or director or whatever, right? Let me go and shoot a virtual tour for you, totally free. I'll have it be like 2 panos, 1 interior and then 1 aerial. So it'll be a 2-panel thing. That'll take me 2 seconds to make. And then I'll sell that to them and say, listen, I can do this for the entire resort, which they're going to love that. They're going to obviously say yes. And then I pretty much get paid for the shoot. And they're also going to comp like the room, and, maybe they'll give me a little all-inclusive action. So it's like, it's a no-brainer. I mean, I go to Mexico every single year for this conference. I do some work with that. I was in Costa Rica a couple of years ago.
Love Costa Rica.
I'm going over to Europe next month. We're doing Paris. We're going to go to Monaco. We're going to go to Rome as well, and do some work there. So that's the kind of stuff I want to do. I want to travel. I want to like learn the culture of other, backgrounds and have it be in a business setting. You know what I mean? It's very, because another thing, the Europeans, which we can get into this maybe, but they think of work so differently than Americans do. Like they take a whole lunch, they come back half loaded. Like they have a whole way of doing work that
They don't
Americans
even get to the
don't.
office till like 10, 11 o'clock.
Oh yeah,
The
absolutely.
whole thing is it's wild. Yeah, it's a different thing.
Yeah.
So what's your take on AI? And we already talked about this a little bit, Dixon, because we you want to give Dixon the model example here. And what's your take on AI going forward with it? I mean, to broaden that question, and I gotta imagine you have an awesome answer for it. What we're already doing is starting an AI. How do you see AI with what you talked about in setting up the insides and all that, and things getting smaller now? I think the military has like little beetle bugs that can literally fly around a house. I mean, not real beetle bugs, but you know what I mean. Little. I think I saw it on a. I don't know. Anyway, really cool stuff they had. How do you think that's, you said 5 years from now, that's a long time in this world. I mean, a long time in this world. 5 years from now, what's your profile? What's your model going to be looking like?
And we're already experimenting this right now, Dixon. What we're doing right now is we are testing the virtual tours to have real human beings in them and AI avatars that can answer questions. So for instance, if you were to go on oh, cool, here's like a whole 360 environment and it's a school and you have a couple questions, you can actually go through and have like a, experience with like an avatar or a real person, or, we're testing both of those things out to actually be included in the virtual tour. So someone can actually hop into it, or you can have an avatar answering questions, making them feel kind of at home. So they don't just go through the tour and they're like, oh, I have a couple questions, let me schedule a call. No, like answer all your questions right then and there, and you're going to have a much better process. So that's honestly the thing that's in the future for sure.
That's dynamic. Yeah. Entrepreneur was an hour ago, we started talking about the name entrepreneur. Yeah, that's very, very impressive. And I'm assuming it's a green screen kind of thing. So you do the virtual tour and you're working with an avatar that lays in. I mean, it's doable, right? I mean, it's got to look good, but I don't want to don't tell me anything you don't want to, somebody listening to go, oh, okay, let's do that. But what do you think? Is that the kind of thing that is structuring that?
They can steal it. I don't really care if they steal it, but I mean, the biggest thing with that is just making sure the technology is like coded in the way that is, it's not fuzzy. It's not like, it's very like natural. It's not pixelated.
Glitchy.
Glitchy. That's probably the best word for it, honestly, Rod. So it just takes time. Like these things, sometimes the work just needs to get done and we just need to figure it out, but it's a fun process regardless to check out and try to solve for sure.
Great question, Dixon. I appreciate it. And Daniel, thank you very much. Neither one of us, I can guarantee you, Sean or I, hate hearing that kind of stuff right there. Sean and I are probably going to both at home with our families take full credit for your compliment, Daniel. I'm going to tell everybody he was talking about me, and you rightfully will tell everybody it was about you. So great vibe. I appreciate that. It wasn't as funny as I thought it was going to be. I apologize about that. One kind of went flat. What a show. Real insights, no fluff. That's one of our catchphrases, insights and straight talk. What else we got here? Okay, it looks like it's comments now. Yeah. Dixon, again, great live stream, taking notes as we go. Ooh. Oh, by the way, speaking of, thank you for saying that, Dixon. Especially, I mean, we're just bullshitting right now. You still got 300 and some odd people on. That's what you call a hook that you set. So obviously this is a topic that we can always continually build on. I'd love to talk to you about getting together and in some class session kind of stuff. But what I'm saying is, in the private chat, I don't know why you can't leave a comment. I'm not sure why, but anyway, in the private chat, would you put the contact information you want people to have? Because
Sure.
what inevitably happens is, there's a couple hundred people on here. Boom. Okay, they're getting the information. Dixon and the rest are taking notes. 3 weeks from now, somebody's going to say, "Hey, Rod, what did he mean by this, or what was this?" And I'm not the expert. I mean, I love to answer their questions, and definitely I respond to comments because it's SEO good. And but I want to send them to you because you're smarter than I am, really, in everything. I think. Yeah.
No.
Everything, dude. I'm telling you. Go ahead.
I have a ways to go.
You got it on here. Can you give me some talking time so I can copy and paste over here for you, Sean?
Yeah, of course. So, guys, pretty much if you want to get in contact with me, I left my email there. Send me over a question. It's just Sean@needmomentum.com. And then the website, momentumvirtualtours.com. Really what I aim at, and the whole reason I wanted to hop on, Rod's awesome show is really just provide value. Like I'm the type of entrepreneur, I don't like to really, in the typical phrase, sell. I really just like to add value. So if you're an entrepreneur out there, and even if you're not, and if you have a question about AI, content, social media, anything digital marketing, shoot me an email, go to our website, check out some of the things we can, and we'll see how we can add value to you and answer your questions. I think one of the best things about our team is we're very responsive, and we actually give you real world answers instead of just a bunch of fluff, which is the motto of this whole show, giving you the straight stuff and no BS. And so definitely send me an email, check out our website, and I'm looking forward to connecting with all you guys. It was a pleasure.
Do I have it? Did I copy and paste it over correctly? Is everything there that you see? com.com shop. Oh, you know what? Oh, all right. That'll still work though, right? Hey guys, that Sean Boyle. I might want to redo that. That doesn't look good, does it? Anyway, great show. And I've saved this to the end in case I have to get off quick and you start chasing me. Your reputation in sports in Philly and the reputation that fairly exists. So I'm going to say this, and it's not true, but it's going to be funny. You're the nicest Philadelphia dude I have ever met. See, I told you it was going to be funny. All right, wave bye-bye to everybody. I'm going to run off before you sneak in the green room and get me. Great show, dude. Talk to you soon. All right. Whew. Great show. Look at that. There's still same amount of people that started off, which happens periodically, but this subject is awesome. And Sean, the energy and the vibe, and we didn't have to do too much arm wrestling, but he let me go. He let me go on a couple of runs there, folks. So I apologize for that, and hopefully it came through well. And we're growing like crazy, and excited to be on this journey and on this path, like and bring people like Sean to you. Like he said, he's just looking to improve and empower people's lives and their experience and things. And he's got that great mixture of energy, youth, and above his years. Because Sean, by the way, I've never worked with so many young people now. It seems like I have more friends under my son's age, which 20 years ago would have been really a weird thing to do. But I have more friends under my son's age than I've ever had in my life, I think. But I was talking about earlier, and that his generation, and what a powerful message, what a powerful energy to be, what a powerful journey to be on. And obviously God's rewarding, another angel. So this is Insights. And as you know, we're on here at least every day, Monday through Friday, because we do the coffee and tea, but usually a couple of times a day. Our next show is at 12. I mentioned it early on. And, I'm Rod Duff. I'm here with producer Barbie, but you know what? I'm out.
Before you leave, if you'd like to watch another one of the podcasts, click the first link in the description. We love having you here and we appreciate all your support.
And with that, producer Barbie and I are out. Ha ha.